Hi everyone. Alright, so we will be looking at Saturn and Pisces through the houses. Now, there's already a video which I will link having to do with the discussion of when exactly this is and the more of the dates and technicality of it. Of course, sidereal and tropical, eastern, western is a little bit different. If you do follow sidereal and you're more in that focus, although most of you here, I feel like, function in the moon, therefore, this has a bit of this in it. So you remember you can always tap back into this to find your power sometimes, because Saturn in Pisces is one of the more difficult aspects. Now, that doesn't mean it doesn't have good promise or power in it. It's just greatly karmic, and we'll discuss this in a second. So, actually, let's discuss that now. So, I'm going to read directly out of this book. This is the Astrologer's Handbook by Francis Sokokian. I found this book in a dumpster. They're going to throw it away when I worked at the Salvation Army. I'm very glad that I found it. It came to me years before I even decided to start creating this space. So remember that which has come before will be of great service now. Okay? So it says Saturn in the sign of Pisces is a difficult position because here the karmic planet is in the karmic sign, right? This can create a tendency to become trapped in memories of the past. An overreactive, fearful imagination can generate all kinds of anxieties and neuroses. Consequently, it is difficult to deal effectively with the demands of the present moment. In extreme cases, the imagination can create personal slights and problems that do not really exist. And I don't know about you, but I've been feeling this kind of like questioning of myself, a questioning of the future, like past this very present moment. I feel like this is also a collective energy that's been happening for a few years since Saturn was coming out of Capricorn and then moving into this space, okay? So remember, you have to figure out Pisces is like, is this reality? Is this fantasy? Is this paranoia? Is this have logic behind it? This is where you can kick back into Aquarius to give you a bit of structure because Saturn is at home there. Now it says on the positive side, Saturn and Pisces can give people emotional understanding, humility, and willingness to work hard on behalf of those that are less fortunate than themselves. Now, this is going to depend also whether a person's chart is set up that indicates mental clarity, right? And if so, like if Uranus is well placed, if Mercury is well placed, things like this can actually give people more of a psychological insight to what is going on around them. But remember, sometimes and I've found this through my own experiences, sometimes when one is very well aware of what is around them and what they can see through the depths and layers of the physical reality outside of them, sometimes it's hard to mirror that back in yourself. So remember, again, to check in, like if you ever get too scared, if there's any sense of paranoia or heavy insecurity that's just like that Pisces wave, right? But it's like a wave of concrete, mentally speaking, emotionally speaking. You want to ask yourself, like, am I in danger right now? Say you're worried about Saturn kinds of things, money, security, stability, whatever, structure in your life. You want to ask yourself, like, okay, well, how is my money? How is my home? How is my whatever going on in these physical? Because remember, Saturn is the material world. Pisces is this everything that is not that. Now, it's not to say Pisces does not have physicality here, but this is also part of the recognition of bringing that spiritual space into this material realm and finding, I guess, what would be in between would be this Holy Spirit. Now, another thing to look at is whether Saturn is well aspected. Now, I know all of you are on different points on the path. If it is well aspected, then this can bring an ability to be capable of having deep meditation. Okay? Because the steadiness of the psyche within this space can make it possible for profound spiritual understanding within it, right? Again, taking that spiritual space and being like, okay, Saturn, I'm going to meditate for 6 minutes a day. You know, I'm going to meditate at 6 a.m., I'm going to meditate at 6 p.m., and you focus and you really can find this place of again, bringing something that's sort of intangible or invisible down into this physical world and utilizing it in a way that makes you feel more secure, right? Because Saturn is also death, old age, karma. Pisces is the spiritual, the soul, etc. Parts of it. We can call it this. So remember that meditation and being able to be calm in this, to calm the body in this material world, regardless of all the chaos in the world, whether it's happening around you or not, really all that is doing is preparing us for change or death, physically, spiritually. So now I will say here, an afflicted Saturn, and I suppose this will be when transits go by Saturn through this transit, right? This can result in paranoia, excessive worry, fretfulness, regret as well over past mistakes and misfortunes. When carried too far, these reactions can result in neurotic or psychotic tendencies leading to incarceration, or even like there could probably be a lot in the world where, we don't have asylums really anymore in the world. For some reason, humans decided we don't need that. And so there could be a lot of that happening where it's like, society, the structure, Saturn, that we've set up, it doesn't actually suit a place for the soul that is fretful, because there is psychological illness, mental illness that comes with this, but it's always existed. So I guess it's also having sympathy for that. Now, it's important to keep any kind of neurosis, right, kind of a bit settled, because it can also create physical illness, okay, as it opposes the sign Virgo of health. Now, to me, Virgo is mental and physical health. Now, I'm feeling, remember, we're talking about collective energy here. It's going to be up to who you are as a person and how you go about it. There's a certain amount of quiet and solitude that is needed in order to tap into inner resources. During this transit, I guess, or if you happen to have Saturn in Pisces, it would also be wise to spend time actively participating in the affairs of the world. This could be volunteering somewhere, especially if you are capable of dealing with that which has mental or psychological issues, people that have less than you, etc. This will actually help avoid morose or excessive introversion, right? Because that could be a part of it too. Saturn is like a wall. Pisces is like, again, psychological. You can make a prison in your own mind, so please remember that. I also see the TV trying to project things like that, like enhance the fear. It's already been happening for probably since the TV was developed. But remember, especially since when Saturn was through Capricorn and Mars went through Virgo, which was about 3 years ago, there's been a lot of projection of fear onto the people, right? make them very guarded and to not feel strong enough to try to, even travel or move around or continue their processes of growth and expansion. So don't let that which is projected onto you recognize again, like, is this a real threat? Is this happening? Is it literal or not? You want to use that logic, okay? Because if it's heavily afflicted in Pisces, and again, I see during this transit, when certain stars are moving through that, this can also, you have to remember to avoid self-pity as well, especially if you're naturally like that. Now, this is interesting. I just want to read it. Remember, collective energy. It says, vain regretting of the past can become a cancerous growth upon the soul, destroying happiness, creativity, and usefulness to self and others. This position demands objective, critical self-analysis so that the natives can discover their personal worth and abilities, as well as the defects, right, Saturn, got to be logical here, and thus finding a way out of their difficulties. We must learn to let go of the past and to take constructive action in the present. The position of Saturn here often indicates that the work will be done behind the scenes. But if you're one of those people that's wanting to change the structure of the world, remember that it all starts with you, okay? Okay, I guess we're going to leave that like that. Just a second. Start at 12:12. So this is going to be Pisces. We're going to look at Saturn through the houses in this transit, right? So whether you're looking at this as Aquarius or Pisces, I'm just going to do it through the houses, and then you can distinguish, especially a little advancement here. Actually, we'll start at 13. A little advanced exercise for those who want to go here is, say you look at the house where you have this transiting, and then for some reason it is aspecting another house. You could look to this. This will give you perhaps information on how to either make it better, or to find where the defect is, where you can be like, wait a second, this is what's exacerbating something in the way that you don't want, right? Okay, so let's do first house. Through this transit, what do we see here? What does Saturn want to say? The King of Shells, harmony and integrity. So this is strong masculine water energy. So this is about knowing one's own power. It is deeply felt emotion. This is not fleeting though, right? This is usually a Scorpio energy. It has a I wanted to call it a dragon horse. A dragon horse. Now, remember that if you have this transiting through your first house, this is about leadership. It's about foundation and structure. Okay? I guess it all begins with who you are as an individual emotionally. I would say as this is a creature in the water, and this is Pisces moving through these spaces, whether it's up in the air or deep in the water. Let's take it as Pisces, because I don't want to flip-flop too much. Because that's the more difficult aspect, I guess, if we're looking at this premeditatively, like a leader would, right? A leader is always looking forward to see what could be, not out of paranoia, but out of responsibility, right? I would also say it could be helpful for you to look at your 12th house, or like, this is the house of the self. So this creates emotional harmony and integrity within the soul. I would say whoever has this in the first house has been preparing for this for quite some time also. Now, I would say that your psychic or like intuitive nature could be very high, right? Like very, very high. So you want to remember to keep things fluid, but you also need a structure, right? This dragon horse, I guess, lives in the sea, but they live within a certain part of that. They interact with certain things. They know where their food is. They know where their home is. They know where their family is. And what all of this needs. Interesting. Wow, that's powerful. I would also say if you like to read tarot or you're into learning, because this is sort of, I'm seeing this King of Shells, like you may start harmonizing more of the elements of you all together. But the water aspect is the strongest, so we're finding harmony in here, though. Or that is the goal that is needed, and I guess that comes through integrity. Remember, integrity is balanced or created by overcoming low self-esteem. Okay? Let's look at the second house. This transit through the second house. Oh, Page of Shells. Okay, interesting. So we have more water. Here we have frog energy. Okay, good. This says intuition and inspiration. I feel like I almost want to look at the positive and the negative of something. Like the positive and the negative of this. The positive popped out first. I like that. Again, this is the intuition, right? Which can give inspiration. Remember, first house and second house are always intertwined to me. There's no real separating them. Now, again, the positive of this through the second house is finally being able to figure out how to not fall. You'll be able to feel things differently too. Like I heard, if it's for you, then it won't feel sticky, but you won't feel like you're afraid to fall. Now, the challenging of this could be where the intuition is one could question their own intuition because of, at times, lack of inspiration. But remember, frog takes great amount of rest, right? Frog is a water creature that is out in the world, out in the physical world. So I suppose a bit of that could come from this. Don't go within too much because you got to come out into the world. I would also say singing or music in the evening could be helpful. Frogs also hang out with other frogs, so you're going to need to socialize a little bit more. Now, if you are overly sensitive, I suppose you have to figure out your own, go see the first house, because you have to figure out your own spiritual, emotional, not protection because you're afraid, but the duality of whether you trust yourself or not. Okay? This is also a card of, again, it's inspiration because it's the Page of Cups. So to me, this is a creative card. Try not to cling to anything. Right? Everything is moving. And you want to have faith that you are strong enough to be a leader, and whatever it is. How do you need to reinforce yourself some way, somehow, or some of you may have to let go of something, or at least shift to a new space some way, somehow, to understand more about your own Finding more of harmonizing your emotional place within the physical world. Okay. Let's see this transit through the third house. Okay, we finally get into Earth. So you have the bison or the buffalo. This card is entitled Dedication and Progress. Let's look at this has to do with your third house. Third house connects to the fourth house and the 11th house. This could be your dream home, right? Where you want to reside. Interesting. Now, this energy going through your third house has a lot to do with you feeling secure in where you are. Wherever you have been dedicating yourself to feeling more secure emotionally in you, and there's been a lot of progress there, okay? Bison to me is about right action through right prayer. Try not to bully your way through anything, like bull your way through. Don't push through. It's, if you need to get to something, it's there for you. But remember, in every season, there are different things that you have to dedicate yourself to in ways of the practical, with this earth energy. Although the crystals are probably air, aren't they? Well, I'm seeing this as Earth. Maybe this is a bit more Aquarius, and something with Aquarius, Taurus, too. Now, this would be dedicating yourself to, like, realizing your dedication and progress in your own ability of yourself, especially to stabilize whether this is emotionally or mentally who you are, right? Some of you could figure out something. We said something about home too, right? Maybe some of you, it's time to move home. Or it's time to dedicate yourself to something. Be like, I'm going to go here. I want to go to this new place and I want to settle there. Which gives you enough space for this bison to move around so that there is always progress, but you're not trying to ultimately elevate to win. It just gives you what you need, and you can feel steady and solid there. I would also say whatever you're dedicated to has some sort of progress around it. Some of you could, in a challenging way, this could be where some of you overly question what you've been dedicated to or the progress that you have made. So please tap into the bison. The buffalo is very steady. It's a big, heavy thing, but you don't want to ever push yourself through it. If you feel something, feel it. That goes back into asking yourself whether what is happening is real or not. And I would say some grounding exercise could be helpful. Maybe even crystals could be helpful. You'd want to clean your crystals, though. Clean things. Please remember your growth. Okay, don't forget that. Let's look at the fourth house. So this one actually showed itself. 4, 6, and 9 collectively all showed themselves. These numbers, 4, 6, 9, could be houses for you. So you have the flamingo here. This transit through the fourth house. This is the Knight of Shells. We have more water. This card states charm and passion. So this card is about balancing, right? Anything I find, like birds that have long legs, like a heron, a flamingo, etc. These kinds of birds, wading birds. It's a wading bird. So maybe there are some things you have to wait for, or at very least be patient with. Now, could you charm your way into it? Could someone charm you into being like, okay, maybe some of you need a charm. Like, need some kind of, something that balances you, something that, something that you love that is, a water stone. What's a water stone? I love you, Zumi. All right, what is this saying? Oh, with the legs. Wading birds show great depth of ability to be in an emotional space and to not fall over. Even if you only, usually you have 2 points, right, that are holding you steady. Even if one of them is not there and you only have 1 point holding you, you can do it. But but you're the only one that can do it. Your 4th house is so emphasized. The 4th house here is so strong. Some of you actually could find a partner or a, I guess, yeah, we'll keep going with this. Some of you could find a partner that really balances you out. Not that you aren't supposed to do this for yourself, but where it's like, not the other half. It's, well, I see weighing the pros and cons, but it's kind of like, maybe, because I'm seeing that Pisces and Saturn together is where it's like spiritual partnership that's solidified. But I guess each person has to stand on their own, whatever that combination is. Don't judge yourself upon what you can create in this life emotionally due to whatever was wonky with your family or where you came from, right? You've learned to stand on your own. That is so powerful. I would also say maybe some balancing energy could be helpful, like tree pose. I don't know, like stand on one leg, like practice. It's practicing different positions. I guess trying new things, perhaps. Remember, you got to love where you are to be able to find what's hidden in the depths. Okay. Let's do 28. Let's see what's in the 5th house for this transit. Oh, the 9 of shells. There is so much water. So this is penguin energy. This is gratitude and fulfillment on here. This looks over. 3rd house looks to 2. 12 looks, 1 looks to 12. 2 looks to 1. 3 looks to 4. 4 looks to 5 and 11. And 5 looks back at all the way to 1. Okay, interesting. Let's see. What is this transit saying? Okay, remember, all right, please watch number 4. 4th house. Whatever it is of finding that which is in the depths, you find it. You're gathering something here. You want to be grateful for what you have, feel fulfilled in what you have. Even when it feels wonky, perhaps some of you need to be like, wow, look at all the things I have. Like, maybe this would also be giving of your time. This would be strong in ways of giving of your time to that which does not have what you have. Physically, emotionally, spiritually, whatever. It's giving. But you want to make sure that you have to keep enough for you. It's like you keep the majority of what you have, not to be greedy. This is more emotionally. You hold and you keep, you're like, all right, I have this much, And I can give, but you never want to, well, not never. What's the word? 10 of Pentacles. It's understanding what you have to give. Now, for some of you, this could also be finding great forgiveness, gaining gratitude again, and fulfillment in feeling full in what having to do with your family, having to do with your job. Remember, this is a blind spot to your job. So if work is ever feels off, if you out in the world feels off, then there's something that probably needs to be balanced with home or in the heart space. Having to do with love, it could even be romantically, like something like this. I could also say that this could bring, if you're in ways of dating or a lover, things like that, this is also, there could be great spiritual connection with that too. I heard someone that's just like you, people that are just like you in a way. This would also be gratitude and feeling fulfilled in what you have created. I could see that relationships with children could also become better. Maybe this is just being grateful that you were a child of your parents, or you were a child of God, or being able to see people's inner children and just being grateful again for what you have gathered. Hawk, yeah. I would also say, as a side note, in ways of difficulty, this could be children that are very ungrateful. Or, like, I would watch it where people want things from you that already have what they need. Maybe this is teaching people about a bit of, okay, like I see resource management. You know, it's kind of like being happy again, gratitude for what you have. Okay. We're going to have to split this up, but let's do 1 through 6. So 6. This energy for the 6th house. We have the Knight of Feathers. Okay, crystals are earth, feathers are air. So we were right before. We didn't need to question ourselves. So Knight of Feathers is the fox. Awesome. Fox is very intelligent. This represents action and focus. So, what does this transit want to say for the 6th house? If you need advice, ask. I could see that having that spiritual, like, taking the spiritual and making it more physical, like, this goes back in Aquarius energy too, where it's kind of like, oh, maybe that's what's happening, is that some people are more in moon energy, some people are more in sun energy, some people are more east, some people are more west. I guess this could be, because east is the beginning of something, west is like the maturity of it. You know, it's like a sapling and an old tree. There's different establishments here, right? Ways of establishing, levels of in time that have been established in something. If you are in a new stage, eastern sun stage, then you want to put your action and focus and realize that you have the ability to do that, right? You can keep your head on straight, and that focus actually will bring you where you need to go. If you're more in the stage of where you already are established in some kind of way, I suppose this could give you a little bit of a place of you want to look at where you want to expand. Maybe you want to expand your focus a little bit more, and then perhaps take certain actions that are different. I would say tweaking your nighttime schedule could be very helpful. You know, when you go to work, maybe it's your work schedule too, depending. This also includes where you put your focus in relation to fun, and as well as, you know, don't be afraid to connect. Okay. Knight of Feathers is also resolve for situations, right? But this is going to take certain action, which actually for some, you have to focus on home. It's like 654. Those ones are really, it actually goes up until 3 to 6. Maybe this is also working out ways to use your energy in the right way. You know, it's like, okay, you need to be more in a mental space, like a focus space, a resolve space, a technical space. Then you do that for like 30 minutes, 60 minutes. You know, this is the house of work. And you know, it's funny. I just got a random text from someone that I don't even know that says, "Are you working today?" It's like, it's 12:40. Yeah, it's a weekday. Yeah, I'm working. So it's knowing your own schedule too, maybe so things don't distract you. This could be something where some of you, something could distract you from what it is. So I see also, please look at the expansion of where you want to grow, or if it's a place, again, where you're planting a seed, figure out what that is. I would definitely manage time differently. This could even be like, I don't know, head massage. If you're too much in your head, you're going to have to give time to be in your body, right? If you're in your body too much, if this Saturn energy is blocking the action or the focus, let's see about that. 3 of Shells, here we go. Playfulness and bliss, we just talked about that. It looks over to the 5th house. So you may need a bit of that. Make sure you have a good balance, because otherwise it may burn itself out, right? Because Fox you barely see. So if you're one of those people that's working so hard that you're not even paying attention to your children, your family, having a little bit of fun, your spiritual space, whatever, then that you don't want to do that. No. Now, I could understand that some people are very focused on their security and abundance, which is a good thing, but you have to have courage in where you are, that God will always provide for you, you know, if you're obviously putting forth the effort, okay? I'm going to split this up. Be right back. Okay, we're back. If you did just tune into this video and for some reason I can't combine the first section and the second section, I very much highly suggest watching the Saturn ingress video. I'll link that, as well as the first section. So I need a second to breathe before we get into this 7th. We'll start in about 30 seconds, okay? When things go too fast, you gotta know how to relax. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's see this transit through into the 7th house. Okay, we have armadillo. Or actually, I don't know what that is. I don't know what kind of animal that is. Aardvark, perhaps. So this is a 7 in the 7th house. Interesting. That's the first time that's happened. So this goes into the 8th house. So this card says options and results. Just a second. What does this transit want to say through this card in this 7th house? Well, I suppose you have options. You want to realize what they are so that then you can realize what the result would be of each one of them. 7 of crystals. We have 8 of crystals up in the 3rd house. I would say 3rd house, which was bison, could be helpful for you to focus on because that would be the next stage of this. It's almost like 7 goes to 3. What is that? That's a trine. Good. This is a positive, smooth, it's a blessing here that comes through continuing to understand that, you know, it could be one of those energies where it's like you're walking along and then there's a fork in the road. You walk along, there's a fork in the road. You walk along, there's a fork in the road. This animal is not running, okay? So you also want to be able to trust yourself in where you're going. Let's see. Star. Yes. So this is sort of Aquarius energy also. A little bit more Aquarius than Pisces. So be aware of that. Let's see. I just want to see. Oh, no, we can't look there yet. Well, why not? Why can't we? Let's look at the 8th house. Okay. 7 goes to 8. 8 goes to 9. 9 goes up into 4. So please watch bison. 3rd house. It's actually really helpful, even though it could feel a little bit stressful, where it's like path, fork in the road, path, fork in the road. If it gets to those places and you actually continue to have options, this is a really awesome thing, right? Sometimes it can feel a little confusing because you're like, wait, I just want this result to bring me to one path so that you don't have to think about it. So don't question your own value too much when you have options. When you have options, this is a blessing, okay? It actually can give you good results. It can give you even better results than what you were. Sometimes we have to go along, come to a fork in the road, take the path. You can't worry about if you woulda, coulda, shoulda over here, right? That's not the point. You consciously chose, so good, you're here. If there's another option, okay, well then this could also be talking to other people. You know, some of you could need a little bit of a booster, like meaning if you're overwhelmed with options and you don't know, then again, trust yourself, trust your intuition. You've already been there, done that with whatever I feel like these paths and splitting of option, you know, these options are. If for some reason you can't see the forest for the trees and you want to like make your own path, I suppose you could do that too. But if you need advice, please ask. Okay, yes, if you need advice on which way to go or what action to take, who had action? 6th house, yes. Then you'll know what it is. Some of you could also be going towards a very committed relationship. Because 5th house is like dating energy. It's like new energy, right? It's sort of that, again, planting the seed, kind of new. Oh, here's a new little sapling. This is going towards the 8th house, which is more of the tree that is established. Something becomes more established. So remember, with success, you have more options. Try not to see that as a negative thing. And if you need to, make sure that when you have a partner, that you want to talk to that which is close to you about what the options are, what you think, what they think. And then I feel like that would be an easy way to also come up with a result that would be the most harmonious for you and others. I would also say to watch the 1st house, because this is a mirror of one another, okay? We're going to take another 30-second break. Please and thank you. Feel free to take a breath. 10 more seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So for the 8th house, we have bat, which is awesome. I love the bat in the 8th house. This is the Queen of Feathers, so the Queen of Swords. This card states perception and truth. Wow. Remember, this card looks to the 9th house of God and learning, which looks down to the 4th house. So there could be things with family. What is this saying for this transit through the 8, affecting the 8th house? You want to check in with your perception, right? This is a nocturnal animal. They are all about sonar, right? They kind of throw energy out, if you will. They allow their energy from within them, their power within them, and they send out energy outwardly. Because sometimes they can't see, right? They're blind. Or they don't see very well. So this is going to give a feeling of whatever it bounces off of. When it comes back, you're going to know what it is, right? For instance, you send energy out. You connect with something energetically. This is even conversations, right? You throw words out there softly. I mean, it could be hard for some, but like, you put words out there, you put energy out there. What comes back to you, how it feels, what's said back to you, this is going to give you great truth, right? Again, if it's frictional or if it's just like it bounces into something and just drops off, then you're going to know that that's not for you, okay? Because it's not coming back to you. You want something that is reciprocal. If that energy comes back to you and it feels smooth, you're going to know, you know what it is, and this will be a test too, because sometimes some of the things that come back to you could be something that you know what it is, like it's familiar, but this will be a test of what you have already learned. And then that's for you, whether to let that just fall away or for you to take that in and be like, yes, this matches my truth. This is definitely different means of perception, which is really awesome. There's a lot of really beautiful forward direction. This bat isn't hanging upside down waiting. It is communicate. This is about communicating. Now, I suppose if Saturn, if we're looking at this through the challenging lens of Saturn, this could be where perception could be hard to understand. The perception of something could be askew. And so you have to know what's true to you. Right? If you get too much into your head, luckily, Queen of Feathers is very clear in her thinking. She doesn't, again, this is more Aquarius energy too, versus Piscean. So you probably have a good handle on this, maybe through your previous experiences. And again, whatever truths that you have learned within inside of you and that which you have come to know through your own spiritual space. It's like holding that spiritual understanding, confidence, right? Maybe it's also not being able to, or rather, it's not being afraid anymore to speak your truth. Now, is this to convince anyone else? No, it's just your own. Excuse me. I would also say whoever your mentors are, your gurus, if you have one, your teachers, men in your life, people that you trust, people that you respect, you believe in their truth. They help you to recognize your own when you're lost or confused. Please know who that is, because They'll also help you to guide you, perhaps when you can't see. Okay? You also have this ability to do that for other people, but remember, you have this for yourself in addition. Okay? Let's take a couple seconds to, before we get into, so let's do 9th house. Let's see this transit for the 9th house. So we have camel, okay? The Knight of Crystals. This card states endurance and determination. This, again, for those of you who skipped ahead, this is also connected to the Knight of Shells, which is the 4th house energy, okay? Camel to me is of great endurance. They hold their own water, right? They're not reliant upon anything else like outside of them to make them feel full emotionally. They know how to hold it, even in times of drought. But with this, one must remember that camel walks very slowly. It can run, but it usually doesn't. Okay? Let's see here. Remember, to keep endurance, one has to also stop at certain times, right? And feel into things. You want to maybe perhaps remind yourself through like where you've been, you know, and how far you've come, how much you have endured, how much, and I guess this would also be checking in with your own endurance. If you're trying to push anything, though, with Saturn, this sits below the bison, which is the 3rd house. I feel like 3, 4 is helpful. 7, 8, also behind this, has something to do with this camel's power. So in the challenging part of Saturn, this could be where if you're trying to push anything, one could become a little bit emotionally dense, right? Because think about it. The camel holds the water within, yes, but it also lives in a place that is very dry. So I guess you have to hold your own spiritual strength pretty strongly here. This 9 of Shells, this 9 of Cups is also in the 5th house. So this is interesting. 3, 4, 5 connect, and then 7, 8. 3, 4, 5, 7, 8. Oh, I see, because what's in between, we didn't mention 6. Sorry, fox will be helpful. Fox and bison. So 3 and 6. If you have the energy to do it, do it. If you don't, rest. Okay? You have to. Make sure you're also giving enough time. You know, I would also say that your spiritual space up into this point, your own emotional well-being, you have enough of the water that you need to sustain you through this transit. And I know sometimes you may feel like a little mouse. Your courage may be tested. It could even be like how you work through certain solutions or resolutions for some of you, this could have to do with environment, or what it's going to take for you to get to the next stage. Maybe for some of you, again, this could have to do with home. It could also have to do with some of you, this could have to do with illness in the family. So remember that you hold a great position of power, but if you need it, you also have it too. You have to know where that is when you feel wonky, when you feel like, I heard I'm just barely holding it together here. You know what I mean? Then you got to go into probably some quiet time as well, and remember that you have the knowledge within you to endure through whatever you're going through. Okay? I would also say it would be good to drink good amounts of water. Maybe even pray in your water. Okay? Let's see the 10th house. Oh my God, the first one, of course. So we have a ram. This is the first acorn to show up. Interesting. So this represents creative force and confidence. Wow. Okay, so this transit in relation to the 10th house, this could be what's happening for you. This could be where it's being aspected, perhaps, for some. Remember that to recognize your own creativity. Okay? Remember, the oak tree originally came all the way from one little acorn. Okay? The growth in something, having confidence to be like, yep, I can grow that. Someone else talked about this too, where it's like the east-west, the sun-moon energy, the acorn and the oak tree, right? The sapling and the oak tree. Now, for some, this could be where something is expanding, and for others, this could be where you are, oh, birdie. It just ran into its own reflection. Interesting. You could be planting something brand new. I feel like this actually comes from what you have already grew. Right? It's kind of like, okay, here's big oak tree, and then oak tree makes acorns and then drops the acorns. Of course, that which is right below it should not grow because it's not going to have the right light. What you need is something else, like a squirrel or the wind or something that takes that seed and puts it somewhere outside of what is right beneath you. Like it needs its own space, you know? And then that is how you create a forest. You're like expanding out into these places. So I want you to believe in yourself, okay? This is also strongly looking over at 11th house. And 11 looks at 12, okay? So I would also say look to the first house. Which was water dragon. This is also Aries energy, right? Aries, Capricorn energy. Let's see. I suppose with Saturn, as this is what we're looking at this transit as, this could be where sometimes the creative force or your confidence could be, although usually the ram is very confident, even Aries can lose confidence at times. It can teeter with that Libra on the other side, like, am I strong enough? Am I doing the right thing? You know, I heard, should I quit? It's like, no, I don't think so. No, traveler, it's just, remember, you're expanding. I would also say that you as an individual have come to great lengths to be at this place now. I say within yourself and your occupation, or you in the world, right? How you interact with the world. Remember to not be too hard-headed or stubborn with who you are and what you want to create with other people. You want to find compromise here also. That's a big part of confidence, is not pushing things, right? You can't push creation. You can't push the tree to make the acorn and then make the wind blow. It's like, no, the squirrel will find the acorn and bury it where it should so that it can grow. You know, and a lot of times when an oak tree actually grows from an acorn with the help of a squirrel, it's because there was so much that was grown and so much that was gathered that it's actually the thing that could even have been forgotten about or put aside. You know, it's almost like the buried treasure reveals itself. Interesting. Okay, let's see. We'll do 2150. Okay, let's look at the 11th house for this transit. Oh, wow. Is this the first major? It is. So we have the chameleon. This is the card of the Tower. I just have to mention that for collective energy. It's the first one to come through this space. So this card represents release and revelation, right? Frog in the second house will also be helpful. Now, what does chameleon represent? It represents being able to be flexible, to be able to change according to what it's around, like to adapt itself. It has strong adaptability. But maybe for some of you, if this is going through your 11th, it could be where you finally release the feeling that you have to be something else than what you are. You know? Maybe there's just some kind of revelation where you're like, wow, I totally pretend to be something when I'm in this environment, around this group. Or some of you say to yourself, well, I can't be a part of that, part of this community, or a part of this family, or even try to achieve that goal because you failed before. It's like letting go of failure. You know? Maybe it's discovering some kind of new enthusiasm in who it is that you are. You know, and especially this is a very creative card. I would definitely say it would be helpful to know that if you have to how do I explain that? If you have to ultimately pretend who you are, or if you're pretending who it is that you are to be a part of something, then it's time to release that mentality, that feeling. Because there's a duality here. It's like, for some, this could be where you got to let go of, again, that mentality, that feeling, and you actually will easily, very easily feel comfortable all of a sudden wherever you are. Now, again, if you were to be yourself or to express yourself or to share what's in your heart or whatever, and someone was to judge you, well, then you'll just know. I suppose when this is going through the 11th, whatever this is, it's like whatever is not for you will just fall away. Now, the interesting thing about this is that there is something karmic here with this 11th very much. I guess this could be Aquarius energy too. Aquarius, Pisces, it's like an overlap here. Who had gratitude? 5th house, which actually mirrors this, 5 and 11. So the penguin could be helpful for you. Now, I suppose with this could be major changes. So be willing to let go. Okay? Because again, wherever you are, you can adapt. And wherever you are overly, again, for some reason or another, pretending. I mean, it could even be for some, I guess, calling out somebody else, but it's your reading. It's your energy, so it would be a change in you. So remember to love yourself and to respect yourself and to realize that you are an important part of the group. And if for some reason you feel like, again, you can only be a part of something if you pretend to be something else, it's like, well, that kind of mentality, that kind of feeling needs to be let go of, because no one can be perfect. Interesting. Let's see, 26. Last but not least, let's go to the 12th house. Let's see what this transit has to say for the 12th. Oh, wow. Mountain lion. Awesome. Mountain lion looks right over to the 12 and 1. Look into each other. Good. So please watch the first house also. So mountain lion, this represents challenge and growth. That's what it says. Challenge and growth. So you have to challenge yourself, I guess. Now, 12th house can be hard, you know. It's a place of great surrender. It's a place where you have to battle somewhat. It's a place that can make us feel like it's a place where we release things, you know, surrender to them. So I guess this could be challenging when this is here, but remember that this is creating more growth in your life, okay? You want to have your mental clarity as the foundation, right? This mountain lion is very powerful, although they do hide a lot, right? And maybe a part of it is finally like not hiding so much of who you really are. Now, this isn't to exert your power to prove anything to anyone else. It's more to help you. You have to release certain things. This could be vocalizing also. Because I could see what we talked about in the first section of this, 1 through 6, and we had the introduction where it talked about if you keep things in, it can actually create a physical illness. You have to let it out, okay? I could see this as one of those therapies where a person like screams or yells, or like this could be singing. It could just be like you have to let it out, whatever it is, because what you're trying to do is find your harmony. And for some of you, this is anger. For some of you, this is fear. Could be where you think you're crazy, or like, you know, these two different sides of you. So allow during this transit for things to be like, sometimes it's going to be where you feel so zen and you feel so in harmony and so right on with yourself. And then other times you're going to be so worried about things or so tripped up about shit that you have to remember that this is a cycle of, again, whatever challenges you come up against, you want to remind yourself, I'm growing. I am growing right now. That's why it hurts. I'm growing, right? For the little bud to push through the tree, right? Through that hard bark, to have that little tiny, delicate green bud, that's a growth process that hurts. Then from there, that little hard bud that is softer than what it came from, but it's still hard. Then that the little even softer leaf has to push through that. And then from there, you can open up fully. And I suppose then there's a cycle of absorbing enough light, right? And being fully open in this, and then understanding the process of, okay, and then then you shed, and then you go again, right? I don't know, 5s may have something to do with this. I guess this could be 5th house also. It's like 4, 5, 12, 1. I would definitely say look to the power of the mountain lion also. They are greatly courageous, right? I would also say that you don't want to really hold back who it is that you are. But you are going to, 12th house has to do with doing things on your own. Here's a porcupine. And this card says perspective and self-empowerment. Because 12th house is an internal house. It's a quiet house. It's a house of rest. It's a house of release. The tower looks right over at this. So it could very well be some of you are releasing some kind of anger about something, some kind of internal frustration. So you recognize more, you know, I heard someone scream like, why don't I have the help that I want? Or something like this. But remember that if you get into that mentality too much where you're eating yourself up, or projecting too much at others, or too mad at yourself, then there's some kind of imagination in the perception where this is not necessarily what the problem is. It's more about the release of it. And I would say in your quiet time, you want to make sure that you have time. I would also say physical exercise could be very helpful to let go. I'm also seeing like when a person gets up in the morning, this could be waking up at 5 a.m. also could be very helpful for a lot of you. You want to wake up early, even if you're tired. You want to have like a big yawn, right? Open up this space, okay? Because you're opening. Okay. I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much for being here. Lastly, with that 12th, remember, there's instability with 5, so you have to have faith. Okay? There's nothing in life you can ultimately predict. And maybe there are times in the past, again, you want to think about, I mean, this is 30 years ago. So if you're that old, you could think about that time frame. I mean, this could be tapping into that power from 30 years ago. But it depends what happened to you 30 years ago to whether you recognize, even if it was hard, like recognizing the power that it was that you got out of that. If you're not that old yet and you're in your 20s or what have you, you could go back 15 years ago and realize the opposition of this energy when this energy was moving through the mirror of this. Okay? This could also be the power that you have to speak up for yourself or to ask for help when you need it versus waiting till everything hits the fan tower looking over at that, right? The power of communication. Okay, I love you. Thank you for being here. I hope this was helpful. Please take care. I'll talk to you next time. And thank you again for the inspiration for this video. I wish you the best upon this transit and in this life. Peace.